In this video we're going to look at how to set up borders within Darkroom. So once Darkroom is open, we need to select the Setup tab. We then need to go down to Products and Services, Templates, Borders. And there we can see a sub menu of various borders that have already been set up. For example, the football. So we can see in there all the different options that we have available that we have defined for our football prints. 5x7s, 8x10s, magnets, and all the normal products that we offer. Now you can also see that these are actually labelled football and then the size of the photo. Football 8x10, football 5x7. This is done because Darkroom can get confused if it sees multiple borders that are the same. In other words, if I just labelled this football 8x10 as just 8x10, and then in the hockey menu we had another border that was just called 8x10, Darkroom can get confused and it leads to printing errors. So when you're setting these borders up, please ensure that you actually label them by the sport. The easiest way I found of doing it is like this: football 8x10. Now we also make these very generic so we can use them across multiple organizations. When we did the CSV files on that video, I showed you how to put a logo into the team, and that logo can be automated within the borders, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to set up a sample 8x10 for hockey. So we can see I already have a folder called hockey, which is empty. Now if we needed to add another border to this, all we have to do is click on borders, add a new group called tennis, for example, and there we can see we now have a tennis folder within our borders, but again there's nothing in it because we haven't added anything. So just going back to the hockey, so the next thing we need to do is tell it that we need a certain print, and in the top right hand corner here we can see new. So if I click on that option, we can see a new general border. The description, what we are going to do is a hockey 8x10. We don't have to give it a file name at this stage, but we need to define the actual paper size that we need to use. So I just need to set that to 8x10. And I want this print to be vertical, so obviously we can see here horizontal and vertical. So if I just go for the vertical option, resolution is normally left at 300 pixels per inch, and the other options down the bottom we can leave as a default settings, and just OK that. So now we have a blank canvas. So we can see down the left hand side here we can add various things: photos, multiple photos, graphics, text and effects. So the first thing I'm going to add is a background. Now these backgrounds are generally saved in one location, obviously just as JPEGs. So when we add a graphic we just need to find it. So if I just add a graphic to this, clicking on browse, I'm just going to paste in my shortcut there, and now we can see we have a backgrounds folder. So just scrolling through to select the appropriate background that we want. I wanted this one here, the vertical hockey background, and just open that up. Now we can, if we in the future want to add different kinds of graphics, you can see we can put a transparency on it. We can define whether we want you to be able to move it after. So once we actually have set these borders up, there are various borders that you may want to move, but we don't really want to do that. We want a defined border that can't be moved to make the printing quicker afterwards. So basically just OK that. Now you can see this doesn't quite fit the actual background, but it's exactly the same as using it when we do with photos. We can just use the scroller on the mouse, zoom into an appropriate level, and there's our background. The next thing I'm going to add to this is the actual photo of the player. So we can see along the left hand side here, add photo. So clicking on that, you can see that it's defined just as photo 1 across the top here, the file name. Now again, because we shoot on green screen, we need to define this transparency as chroma key. Therefore it's going to automatically remove the green screen on the print. Now we can make this adjustable. So once we have actually defined where this picture or this photo is going to be, it is movable when you're working in the photo workshop. And you can see we can also do some other more advanced effects. Now to be brutally honest, Darkroom is not that advanced, but we can add shadows, color effects and things like that. We generally don't on the photos. The one thing I am going to do though is just add a test photo, and I'm going to show you why in a moment. So if I just OK this, we can see it has added the photo. Now the photo has come up at full size, so you can see the little green lines around the outside, so this photo would cover the whole of the 8x10. Again, I can move it and rescale it by using the roller on the mouse, and I can move it down to here. The problem with this is we don't know how big this actual photo is going to be. We need to put a test shot in there to see where the actual person will be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this image, just give me a test image so I know where our player will actually be situated. So just double clicking on the photo, the number 1, scrolling down to the bottom and test photo. We then need to go and find our test photo, and I've got this set up as a shortcut here. There is my test image. So if I just click on that, open and OK, now you can see nothing's happened. Again, this is just another quirk of Darkroom. If we click away from the image on the background, it updates with that particular image. And now I can move him. We can also see the border around him, so I can now actually resize him to where exactly I want him to be in the image, because we shoot in the cameras with the head, the top of the head at the same position every time. So this just gives me a good idea of where the image is going to be, and that's fine. Next, we're going to have to add some logos to this, and remembering that we do not add specific logos to the actual print. We use a graphic which will automatically search for the logo that we defined when we did the CSV files. So I'm going to add 2 logos, ours and theirs. So the first one is add graphic and browse. Now the logos are all located on the X drive. So if I just search for my X drive, and within the X drive we need to scroll down to the templates folder. Now we can see initially there is several folders and files in here. We do have a logos folder which we are not actually going to use, and I will show you why. And within this first templates we can see the Prime Sports Team Photography small logo. Now obviously I am going to put that in as a permanent logo because that will be the same for every single print. So just okaying that and open. Again, we can put a transparency on it, we can make it fixed or moving. Again, we don't need to at this stage, so just OK that. And there we can see our logo right in the middle. So what I'm going to do is just move our logo down to the bottom corner there, and that's done. Next, I'm going to add a placeholder for the organizational logo. So this test one is slightly different. So I'm going to add a graphic. So once we're in the menu for the graphic object, this time we are not going to browse. Browse would give you a fixed logo, but obviously we want it to be able to look for the logo for the particular organization. So we're going to look up. What do we want to look up? A particular graphic, and we want to look up a logo. Now what I found using Darkroom is this will not actually work. What we need to do is remove the quotation marks around logo. So if I just remove the first one and the back one, this will then work. Also, all of the logos that we have are all square, and if I just go to the position and size, we can see this is automatically defaulted, so this graphic will be 8x10. So I need to change that to 1x1 to make it square. We can alter the size later if necessary, but 1x1 seems to be a good size for this. So if I OK that, we can see it's put our graphic in the top left hand corner. I'm just going to move it down to the bottom left, and you can see that it's empty. So you can now see we have their logo in the bottom left, we have our logo in the bottom right. Now as far as this 8x10 is concerned, that is now ready for actual printing. So if I save the changes, we can now see in our hockey folder we have a hockey 8x10. And what we can do to confirm that this actually works, if we just go back to the photo library and select a player. So if I go to photo library, I only have some footballers on here, but I'm going to choose young Sebastian here. Just go to my photo workshop, and now we can see Sebastian on a green screen background. So just confirming, we can go to borders, set the border directory, make sure it's on hockey, OK, and then go to borders, borders, and there's the hockey 8x10 which I have just defined. If I select that, we can see it's put the correct Wildcats logo in the bottom corner there, our logo in the bottom right, and there's the image. Now we can still move this image around, but we want to avoid this. We don't want to be spending too much time resizing images. So get the image size right in the border, and that's why we add that test image, so we can obviously see what it will look like. So just going back to setup. Now the downside is obviously it doesn't save the test image. So if I go back into my hockey 8x10, you can see it's just a number. And another word of caution, it also looks like the actual logo in the bottom left isn't there. It is. You can see if I just click, it is still there, but because it's going to go and look for a logo, there's obviously nothing to display. There's nothing to stop you adding another test to this. If I just double click on the photo number 1, scroll down and add the test photo, and again, once you've okayed that, nothing seems to happen. It's just a bit of a peculiarity of Darkroom. If I just click on the border, it then appears. And again, it's like, actually that's a bit small. What I'm going to do, oops, you can see there I just selected the background by mistake. Let me just select the photo. Actually, I want this to be slightly bigger in the frame like that, and you can see how we can then alter it and resave the image. Again, once you've saved it, you lose the test image. It just comes up as number 1. Now on that particular 8x10 there is no text. So the next thing we're going to do is just add another border to this, but put some automated text on it. So I'm just going to create, say, a 5x7 this time, just with some automated text. So add a new border. We can see it's a new border. I'm going to call it hockey 5x7. We need to define the page size. So just scrolling up to 5x7. Give it an orientation, be it vertical or horizontal, and then just OK it. And again, we've now got another blank canvas. So I'm just going to add a graphic to that, just to give it a bit of a backdrop. I'm just going to paste my shortcut in there, and I'm just going to select that backdrop again and open it. Again, it doesn't quite fill the size. Obviously the backdrop image isn't quite 5x7, so just using the ruler on the mouse I can just scroll in and put it where I need it. So we're going to obviously put a photo on this, so again I'm just going to add a photo. So add photo, I remember to put the transparency on, put the chroma key on, and again I'm just going to put a test image in there just so I actually know where to actually place these people. So I'm going to go to my test image folder, and there we go. Now this time I'm just going to make him a little bit smaller in the bottom right here, and I'll show you why in a moment. So now I want to add this player's name automatically to this particular 5x7 print. So again, we're going to add text. So I can type anything in here. The only problem with doing that is then fixed and would never alter on their image. So we can alter the font of this. There's all the fonts that are normally available, the size, bold, italic, whether it's left, center or right justified. We can change the color attributes. Movement here is it floating or fixed? So therefore, after this has been set up, do you want people to be able to move this text when they're actually looking at the image? And you can see there the different character spacings, alignment. We also have an outline color on this that's currently set up. So all of these things can be defined, but it is still fairly simple. It is not as good as Photoshop for doing gradiated text or gradiated colors and things like that. So if I OK that, you can see there's the text. That would then appear on every image and would never alter. Now obviously we don't want that. We may want to use it, but I want to show you how to add on the player's name. Now this is where we start to get into assembly macros, and there is a PDF document available which outlines all of these macros. So what I'm going to do is just show you this PDF document first, and we'll just have a look. It's a very simple document, but it outlines how to actually do this automated text. And we can see in the center here sports macros. So if I just zoom in just a little bit and then move down to sports macros, you can see here this is how we define the automatic text, and this text is coming from the job and the CSV file. And this is why you can how we can do first name, last name, jersey numbers, team names, divisions. That's another reason we put the coach in there, the head coach in the macro into the CSV file, because then we can automatically add the coach's name as well. Now this is not the full list. You can add anything from any information that was in the original CSV file. So what we need to do then, if I just move that out of the way, we need to add text. So the first thing we need to do is I'm going to do first name and last name. So percent photo dot first name, and it's as simple as that. Again, you can define the text, the colors and all the rest of it as well as this, but this would then give you the first name. Now we can add multiples to this. So if I just put a space after that and then do percent photo dot last name percent, obviously then we would get the first name and last name for this particular player, and let's just OK that, and there it is. So when this photo comes in, when we select the photo, dependent on which player you select, this would automatically add the first and last name to this. So let's just add another one just to confirm this. So again, I'm going to add text. I'm going to do percent photo dot jersey number percent. I'm going to change the text color. I'm going to make it nice and red just for a effect, and I'm going to turn off the outline around the text. I'm also going to make this a little larger and then OK it. So there you can see the jersey number. Now the jersey number is obviously going to be small, so what I can do is just make that. So you don't need to worry that this font or this text is cut off, because obviously the jersey number potentially is only going to be a maximum of 2 digits. So if I just move that to there, that should be fine. Now you can see how we can build this up dependent on what you want, obviously in the trader card or the magnet or whatever else. So let's just confirm that this is actually working. So what I'm going to do is save the changes. You can see it's automatically defaulted to hockey because that's what I've been working on. It's called hockey 5x7 because that is why I told this actual border to be at the top here, so I can just save that. So let's just confirm that that actually worked. So you can see here we now have the hockey 5x7. I'm just going to go back to my photo library, select Sebastian again, go to the workshop. There's Sebastian on the green screen. Go borders, borders, hockey 5x7, and there's the sample, the text that I've just put in. So you can see the sample text I typed in is fixed. I typed it in without the macro settings. You can see Sebastian Altidore and his jersey number is 12, and that's all worked correctly. Now one other thing I just wanted to show you in terms of these macros is if we ever have a situation where we require multiple images. So if I just go back to my hockey 5x7, you can see the sample image has disappeared, but that's not a problem. What I'm going to do is add a second photo to this image. So add photo, and you can see it's automatically defaulted to photo 2, which is fine. I need to make sure that the chroma key is on because I want the green screen to be removed, and I'm just going to OK that. Now you can see it's come up at full size, so I can take this number 2, just make it a little smaller and just put it here. So this image, or this print, is now going to contain 2 images. Now the reason I wanted to show you this is we can draw different text from different images. Now what I mean by that is you can see here that the defined text for the first name and last name is just photo. That will no longer work on this border. So if I just go back into this text, what I need to do is tell it which image you want the text to come from. Well, I want this first and last name to come from photo 1, so I just need to put a 1 in front of there and OK it. So that will now draw text from this first photo. So again, this jersey number will not work. If I just go back into there, you can see it's photo. If you're going to put multiple images on a print, you need to tell it which photo you want to draw the name from or the information from, and then OK that. Just to show you that this actually works, I'm just going to add some text. I'm just going to do photo 2 dot last name %% like that. I'm just going to change this away from red. We're just going to go back to black. That's fine. I'm just going to OK that, and then I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller and just put it under image 2. So you can see how we can build text up to add different information coming from different photos, but you have to define which photo you want the text to come from. If there's only one image, you can just put photo dot and then the information you require. So let's just see that that actually works. So I'm just going to save changes. So now you can see I have 2 images. So just going back to the photo library then to confirm this. So photo library, again I'm going to click on Sebastian, go to my photo workshop, do borders 5 by 7. So you can see the first selected images come up in 1. This is Sebastian, he is number 12. And you can see we have a placeholder here for the second image. So if I click on the number 2 and then click on a different player, this person here, you can see it's automatically added his surname as Nash, which I'm assuming is correct, but we can confirm that because we have selected image 2. If I go up to the top right here and do show data, we can see this player is indeed Jack Nash. So it's used the correct text for his last name. So you can see how we can add text to multiple images. So just going back to our setup then, I'm just going to show you a few other features that we can use for this building of borders. I'll just go back into my 5 by 7. I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit. Let's just get rid of image 2, the text, the sample text. Yeah, so then we're back to image 1. I'll just make it a bit bigger. There we go. So I can rotate this text if necessary, if we ever feel the need. So you can see there the first name and last name. We have a rotate option here. So I can rotate it by any angle I like. So let's just put a 15-degree clockwise rotation on it. So you can then see we can do that as well. So I'm just going to show you something else. Let me just save the changes there. Obviously with things like magnets and trader cards, we have images or graphics across the bottom where we add names and things like that. Now Darkroom is not very good at setting those up, so what we typically do is we set those up in Photoshop first. So what I'm going to do is just go to a typical trader front that we have set up in Photoshop. So you can see this is an old Springbank magnet front that we were using. Now obviously we can set this up in Photoshop because Darkroom is not very good at doing these gradiated or gradulated colors. So we can set it up in Photoshop and then utilize it in Darkroom. But obviously things like the backdrop, the logos, we don't need. So if I just switch off the logos and the name and the background layer, it is just this transparency that I want to use in Darkroom. Now I need to ensure that once I've set this up in Photoshop, I save it as a transparent PNG, and the best way I found of doing that in Photoshop is File, Export, Export As. We can then see the format here is PNG, the transparency is turned on. We also need to make sure that this is converted to sRGB. Darkroom has some issues when we mix sRGB and Adobe color spacers. We also need to make sure that we embed this color profile into this image. Now this is the best way that I've found of ensuring that the colors are accurate. we can just then export that to the folder where we are currently storing our borders. So let's set up a magnet within Darkroom. Now magnets within Darkroom are set up as 5x7s, so if I just do new, we're going to call this the hockey magnet. It's going to be a 5x7 vertical, so OK that. So again, we have a blank canvas, so the first thing we need to do is start building up the backgrounds. So I'm just going to go through this very quickly. I'm going to add a graphic, browse for that graphic. So just finding my hockey image from earlier. I think I've gone past it. There it is. So add a photo. So again, just photo one, make sure that the chroma key is on. We could put a test image on as before. I'm just not going to bother on this one. Just make it a bit smaller. Kind of there is fine. Now obviously we will put logos and things like that on this as well, but what I'm going to do this time is I want to add that graphic just to show you. So I'm going to add a graphic, browse for it, obviously remembering where you saved it. My graphic is going to be this one here, and open. OK, so we can see there's the graphic. So if I just move that down to the bottom of the page, let's make sure it lines up. It's just a little bit smaller than the actual graphic. So there we go. Obviously now what we would do is we would add text to this. So again, just to show you, add text, %photo dot, I'll just do last name. There's only one photo on this particular image, so I can leave it just as photo. Just change the font to white. OK. OK that, and you can see the last name would then go somewhere on the image. Now the last thing to cover on this is obviously this is like Photoshop in terms of layers. So we can see the layers in the top right here. The top is the background. So if I just move photo 1 under the background, you can see it's still there, but it's under the background image. So we just need to make sure that we get the layering correct, especially when it comes to logos. Logos need to be on top. We can also see this number 1 is behind this particular graphic. Just to confirm that, I will just add a test photo. Again, Darkroom can be a little bit strange, the image isn't there, but if we click on the background he then appears. So yes, we can see he is behind this graphic. Yeah, so obviously once this is then saved, the name would automatically appear, the photo would automatically appear. We just need to make sure that we've got logos on there as well. And I can save those changes, save them into the hockey folder. It's called the hockey magnet, save. So now you can see we have 5x7, 8x10 and some magnets, and we just keep building these up for all the different products that we have.